You're listening to the Sisters in Loss podcast, a faith-based grief and loss podcast for Black women, where you will hear stories of miscarriage, infant loss, stillbirth, and infertility to learn there is a testimony in tragedy. You will learn how to heal, gain clarity, find hope and peace, and turn your pain into your purpose after loss. I'm your host, Erica M. McAfee.
Thank you so much, Lakisha, for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I'd like for you to begin by sharing a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay, my name is Lakisha Watson. I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm a wife. I'm a mother to an angel and a rainbow. Right now, I'm currently a stay-at-home mother. I'm working on a few things. I just started a blog, and I'm working on a couple businesses that I have in mind. That's just the gist of it a little bit.
So I would like for you to kind of take us back on your journey to motherhood and share with us your lost story.
Okay, so I was told in 2015 that I would not be able to conceive on my own without the help of IVF. At the time, I had just met my now husband, and I told him about it, and he was okay with it, and we just said we would cross that bridge when we got there. So fast forward to 2 years later, we got married, and a month after we got married, I got pregnant naturally. And so we were excited. Everything seemed to be going smoothly. You know, it was kind of like a miracle because the doctor said that I would never be able to. And everything went well until about at 31 weeks pregnant, his heart stopped beating. And I was just at work one day, and he was usually active. And that day he just wasn't active. And I knew something was wrong, but I just didn't want to believe it because I was tired of running up to the hospital every time I felt like something was wrong. So I just said I would wait until my appointment. And so I got home and tried to use the Doppler, and I couldn't find a heartbeat at home. So then I just went out to the hospital, and surely enough, got out there. They confirmed that he didn't have a heartbeat. Still to this day, they don't know what happened. They said it could have been a cord accident, but they're not for sure. They can't say for sure. We chose not to do any testing or anything like that. But my doctor says she's leaning more towards a cord accident. And so after that, 4 months later, after we lost our son, I got pregnant with our daughter. And she was born this year on Valentine's Day.
Wow. So take us on that journey through the birth of your son. How did that process work? You know, were you admitted to the hospital? Were you able to go through a natural birth? And then did you have a memorial service for him?
Yes. So when I went to the hospital to get checked out, and they did an ultrasound and saw that he didn't have a heartbeat, they immediately took me to a different room, and they gave me medication to start my labor. And so they gave me the medication, and I basically just waited all night for it to start, and the contractions started and everything. And I had him that next morning. And so we got to have him in the room with us for a few hours. We took pictures and everything. All the family came and saw him and everything. For whatever reason, they let me go home that same day. I don't know if they just, felt bad for me, or I don't know. I had a baby that day, and they let me go home that day. It was kind of weird. But also, yes, we did have a memorial service. About a week later, we have a funeral home here that does free funeral services for babies and small children. So we did have a memorial service.
So how was those next few weeks, that next month look like? What did your grief journey look like up until you found out you were pregnant again?
So after that, I mean, of course, I was devastated. I was hurt. I was confused. I literally felt like God was just playing a cruel trick on my life. That's literally how I felt. I took off 3 months from work, and during that time, I did see a therapist. I started seeing a therapist for a few sessions. And one thing that I can say I made sure to do is I got up every day. I made sure that I didn't just lay around, in the bed all day. I made sure I got up, got dressed, because that made me feel better. Even if I didn't have anywhere to go, I still made sure I got up and got dressed and just did something. And so the therapist really helped get me prepared to go back to work after the 3 months. And after that, my support system was everything to me.
So when did you know you were ready to try again? Did the therapy help you through that?
Therapy did help. I did have some things that I took away from the sessions, and it really helped because she also had suffered a stillbirth years ago, so she could relate to what I was going through. I never really got to a point where I felt like I was ready to try again. I think after a while, we kind of me and my husband we didn't really talk about it, but we both kind of just knew that we wanted to try again at some point. And so we briefly talked about it one day, and we just said, hey, do you want to try again? And we both agreed on it. But by the time I was already pregnant, we didn't know. But I mean, I don't think I would have ever had a point where I knew I was ready. It was kind of something that just happened.
So take us through that pregnancy after loss journey, because you were still grieving the loss of your son. So how was that pregnancy and getting to those milestones and getting past that 31-week marker where you had lost your son? Take us through that journey.
Oh my God, it was literally the hardest thing I've ever went through. It was tough. Luckily, the doctor that I have, she allowed me to go to doctor's appointments every week, or she said I could come in twice a week or however many times that I wanted. And I wasn't labeled as high risk. It's just that since I had a stillbirth, they allowed me to do that, I guess, for my peace of mind. So those weekly appointments, they really helped. And, sometimes I would be at work and I would just feel like, okay, I haven't felt my baby move in a while. And I would just go to the doctor and they would let me see her on the ultrasound. So that really, really helped. But it was still very, very nerve wracking. I mean, I was always scared that something was going to happen. When we got to the 31 mark, I was, of course, scared, but as soon as it was over, I was so relieved. It was like, it was great because that was the furthest I had ever been pregnant. And so it's like, I just was happy that I was still pregnant, basically. But it was very hard. My whole pregnancy was very hard all the way up until the end.
So I can empathize with you. I understand.
Today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp.com. That is better, HELP.com. Is there something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your personal goals? BetterHelp will assist your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You can start communicating in under 24 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It is professional counseling done securely online. There's a broad range of expertise in BetterHelp's counselor network, which may not be locally available in many areas. This service is available for clients worldwide. You can log into your account anytime and send a message directly to your counselor. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses, plus you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions so you won't ever have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room as with traditional therapy. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change counselors if needed. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today. Visit their website at betterhelp.com/sisters. That's better, H-E-L-P, and join the over 500,000 people taking charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. There's a special offer for our listeners. For Sisters in Loss listeners, get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/sisters. I am so excited for you all to tune into BetterHelp, as I've been using it for the last 4 weeks, and I absolutely love the counselor that I was matched with. You can also choose a counselor that specifically works with African American patients or is African American themselves, especially if you're looking for someone who can relate to your cultural experiences as you're going through grief, loss, and healing. Once again, the website to get 10% off is betterhelp.com/sisters, betterhelp.com/sisters.
How was it once you actually birthed your rainbow?
It was bittersweet. It was very bittersweet. Of course, I was over the moon happy, but it was bittersweet just because my son was born last year on February 23rd, and our daughter was born on February 14th. So it was around the same time. So, we were coming up on the 1-year mark. So there was like all these emotions and everything. And it's like, I already had all the hormones, and I'm happy on one end because I just gave birth to my beautiful daughter, but I'm also mourning my son who we're at his 1-year anniversary of his loss. So there was a lot of emotions there. It was a lot. And, I just had to take it one day at a time. We made sure that we, honored our son still. We took our baby out there and we, had a balloon release at his gravesite. I just make sure that I do things to remember him, and that always makes me feel better.
So what tools and resources did you use to help you on your healing journey?
So, of course, I'm still in my healing journey. And of course, I did the therapy for a little while. Other than that, I started writing. I really, really like to write. So I would journal, and I also started my blog. And sometimes I would write letters to my son. And I remember sometimes I would go out and read them to him at his gravesite. And that always made me feel a little better. I've read some books. I read a devotional that I was reading every day. I read a self-help book, and I read a pregnancy after loss book while I was pregnant. So those really kind of helps. The main thing, though, is my support system. Just talking to people, my family, they've really been there. I never feel like I'm alone. When they talk about the loss, it's our loss and not just my loss. And so they really, really helped me.
I love that it was our loss and not just their loss. That's amazing, because one thing that we don't always talk about is how a loss affects our family, those who are close to us as well. They still go through the same grieving process. So yes, I love that your family supported you in that way. Yes, you are. And you mentioned that you were still in your healing journey. Let's share a little bit about your blog. Like, what are you're writing letters. What other things are you also sharing?
So I haven't, it's not a whole lot on there. Basically what it is I just finished a couple of them. One of them is about Me being a stay-at-home mom is just telling a little bit about that. One of them is about me living through my grief, about how I'm navigating, living with grief and just trying to coexist with it in my everyday life today. There's one on there where last year I wrote a blog for my due date. My due date had came up, and I just basically put my thoughts out there. So really where it's going is just my thoughts and how I'm navigating everything. That's basically what it is at this point.
Yes, love that. So, what encouraging words can you leave with the listeners, those moms who are out there who have experienced loss, that are in that process of trying again, and they just want to keep going?
I would just say never lose faith. Do not lose faith. I just want to say also to the families that are dealing with infertility, because I've been there as well, just never lose faith. We may not understand or get our answers as to why this happened to us or why we're going through what we're going through. But, what we can control is how we choose to move forward. And I would also just say, just do whatever is necessary to protect your peace, whatever you have to do. Sometimes I get off social media because that could be overwhelming at times. Just whatever you need to do, grieve the way that you want to grieve, and just remain faithful that one day you will get your rainbow after the storm.
Yes, I love that advice that, grieve the way you need to grieve. There's no timeline on your grief. I love that because that is so true. So where
Yeah.
can we connect with you after this episode?
Yes, my Instagram is Kish Watson 88. It's KISH_Watson 88. And I'm on Facebook as just Lakisha Watson. And my blog, it's called L Wiley Blog. And the name of the blog is A Walk in My Shoes.
Love that. Thank you so much, Lakisha, for being on the podcast and sharing your story and your life. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. For show notes and more information on today's guest, go to sistersinloss.com. If you have not joined our online community, go to sistersinloss.com as well as sign up for our newsletter. We want you to be a part of the community so you can know all of the events that we have planned on as Sisters in Loss. Go to sistersinloss.com, sign up for our newsletter, join our online community, and stay connected with us. Talk to you soon.